Hare Krishna. So, thank you very much. So, today we are going to discuss about the most important thing, how to cultivate the transcendental goodness, pure bhakti. That is called Sudasattva. So, unless we cultivate the transcendental goodness, we cannot execute pure bhakti. So, we will learn this beautiful, important chapter. Lord Krishna himself spoke to Uddhava. Also, Lord Shiva spoke in this regard also, how he executed this pure bhakti, bhakti in very pure consciousness. So before we start, we offer our Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakkhurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sijutapadakammalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanam Cha Sirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Siraghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalitam Sri Visakham Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषाभानु सुता देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यः वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So today we are going to discuss about the beautiful verses from 11th canto, Lord Krishna Uddhava. How to cultivate this transcendental goodness. So unless we cultivate the Sudasattva platform or goes beyond these modes, we cannot cultivate pure bhakti. It is stated in Shastra that asangahi ayam purusa. Originally we are pure consciousness. Our constitutional position is originally very pure consciousness, without any contamination. Asanga, there is no attachment, without any material attachment. But somehow or other, we are contaminated, infected by modes of material nature. But it is not our constitutional position. When we revive that constitutional position, that position is called Sudasattva or Vasudeva or transcendental goodness, Vasudeva platform. Vasudeva platform means Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samhatma Sudullabha. This state we understand our constitutional or eternal relationship with Lord. Vivera Sarupave Nitya Krishna Das. So to revive this consciousness, we have to disinfect the contaminations, all the three modes of contamination, all the infection, material infection. At present, we are Sangha dosha yukta. We have infected by material attachment. Someone is infected by mode of goodness. Someone is infected by mode of passion. Someone is infected by mode of ignorance. But all these three qualities are binding quality. It will not. It is still infectious condition. Even mode of goodness also infectious condition. So we have to transcend this infection or completely cure in order to revive or renovate our constitutional position. That is called Krishna consciousness or Vasudeva Sattva or transcendental goodness. So when we revive this Krishna consciousness, then the pure bhakti, Brahma Bhutta Prasanatma Nasosati Nakankyati, Samah Sarva Buddheshu Mada Bhakti Labate Param, then we can develop this pure love for Krishna. Then Lord reveals. So now we are going to today learn about the beautiful verses. So it is stated by the Lord Himself, 11:13:1. We can go through this one. Then we can discuss that how to come to that transcendental goodness position. So this is a beautiful verses for 11:13:1. It is spoken by the Uddhava, Krishna to Uddhava. In this verse, it is stated, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Sattam Rajastama iti guna buddhe na chatmanaha sattenena yatamo hanyat sattam sattena chaivahi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said that the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, ignorance, pertain to material intelligence, not to the spirit soul. Spirit soul is asangai ayam purusa. It is not infected and not to the spiritual. But the development of material goodness, one can conquer the mode of passion and ignorance. By cultivation of transcendental goodness, one may free oneself even from the material goodness. Because material goodness is also infection, but very less infection. Just like, we have like just now we had a COVID, and COVID has three stages, like severity level. The severity level is more higher, mild, and very beginning. So this way, mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. Three modes. All three are infection. But mode of goodness is very, what we say, preliminary stage, the curing stage. Like you have a very mild now infection. It will be cured. So mode of goodness is a stage where a preliminary stage to cultivate or attain this transcendental goodness, Sudasatta platform. So when you cultivate mode of goodness, passion and ignorance is subdued. Because in passion and ignorance, we cannot attain anything. It is a very lower stage. We cannot revive our consciousness. So let us go through the purport of Srila Prabhupada. Goodness in the material world is never exist in a pure form. Therefore, it is common knowledge that on the material platform, no one is working without personal motivation. It's very important. Let us go through this one. So goodness in the material world never exists in a pure form. It is it is common knowledge that on the material platform no one is working without personal motivation. In the material world, goodness is always mixed with some amount of passion and ignorance. Whereas spiritual or purified goodness, Visuddha Sattva, represents the liberated platform of perfection. Materially, one is proud to be an honest, compassionate man, but unless one is fully Krishna consciousness, one will speak truth that are not ultimately significant, and one will give mercy that is ultimately useless, because the onward march of material time removes all the situation and person from the material state. Our so-called mercy and truth apply to situation that shortly will not exist. Real truth is eternal. Real mercy means to situate people in eternal truth. Still, for an ordinary person, cultivation of material goodness may be preliminary stage on the road to Krishna consciousness. For example, It is stated in 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam that one who is addicted to meat eating cannot understand the pastime of Lord Krishna. By cultivation of material mode of goodness, however, one may become vegetarian and perhaps come to appreciate the sublime process of Krishna consciousness. Since it is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita that the material modes of nature constantly rotate, one must take advantages of elevated position in the material goodness to step onto the transcendental platform. Otherwise, as the wheel of time turns, one will again go to darkness of material ignorance. Beautifully, Krishna is explaining that we are all originally Krishna consciousness. Krishna prema, nitya siddha Krishna prema. Sadhu Kevanaya, Nitya Prema, because we are originally Krishna consciousness. Now we have turned away from the Lord. As a result, we are infected by three modes of nature. That is stated in these verses. That how we are infected. Let's go back to a little bit of beginning. That how we are infected. So it is stated in these beautiful verses that it is said that bhayo ditya abhiniveshet sad. Fear arises when living entity misidentify himself as a material body because of absorption of external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turn away from the Supreme Lord, he also forget his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. And this bewildering, fearful condition affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. See, as soon as we turn away from the Lord, Krishna Bahirmukha Jiva Bhagavancha Kare Nikatastha Maya Tare Jhapatya. What is that Maya? Forgetfulness of the God. We forget the constitutional position as a Nitya Krishnera Dasa, servant of the God. So at that time we are now caught with the three modes of material nature. We misidentify the body. As soon as we misidentify the body with soul, what will happen? The three modes immediately affected. Immediately affected. It is stated in these beautiful verses by Vasudev in the very first canto. Yaha samahita jivam atmanam trigunatmakam. As soon as we turn away, we have got this misunderstanding that I am this body with the soul. So due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental, we are transcendental. As I told you, asangai ayam purusa, we are transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Think of himself as a material product, thus undergoes a reaction of material measure. So this is our root cause. Krishna Bahirmukha Jiva Bhagavan Chakare Maya. As soon as we come to the Maya, Trigunatmakam, Atmanam Trigunatmakam, we are infected. We are infected. We are contaminated. The pure consciousness is contaminated, in touch with external energy of the Lord. Why? Due to our turning away from the Lord. And in this state, we are forgetting. We are thinking, I am the body, I am the God, I am the master, I am so and so on. And I try to exploit the material energy of the Lord. I try to lord over the material energy of the Lord. Prabhupada always you lord over the. So this is our position. In this position, the great sales, the great scholar, they say that your soul is lost. This is a condition where our soul is a very diseased condition, just like a person who has got infected and he has been hospitalized. We say he is a patient. Similarly, the learned scholars, they say that when a living entity is torn away from the Lord, infected by the three modes under the spell of Maya, they say that the soul is lost. Soul actually cannot lost. It exists eternally. But we forget our constitutional position. In that forgetfulness is called soul is lost. This is a beautiful verses 422-31. When one deviates from the original consciousness, he loses the capacity to remember his position or recognize his present one. When remembrance is lost, all knowledge acquired is based on a false foundation. When these so-called learned scholars consider that soul is lost. So this is our position, is a prelude to this verse. This is our position, how we have come into conditional life, how we are contaminated. Now, in that contaminated stage, as Prabhupada says that we are infected by somebody mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. But mode of goodness also, it is not eternal things. It is for the time being. Supposing, just like a charitable person is helping a poor man, but how long it can help? He cannot change his destiny, his karma. In up to this life, he may help him, but in the next life, he cannot. So this so-called mercy, so-called compassion is just a relative truth, not the eternal truth. So this mode of goodness, therefore, is also infectious position. We cannot help others. This is a temporary solution. And sometimes also the mode of goodness it is say that in mode of goodness sometimes it is subdued by mode of passion also. Krishna say Bhagavad Gita, very nice verse 14:10, that sometimes the mode of goodness become prominent, defeating the mode of passion and ignorance. Or son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats also goodness and ignorance, and other time ignorance defeat goodness and passion. In this way, there is always a competition for supremacy. Due to this competition for supremacy between modes, we are in mode of goodness, but over the time, in due course of time, we cannot maintain the status quo. We cannot maintain the consistency, persistency of this material modes. So it is also infectious. And mode of passion and ignorance is very degrading, deteriorating, debilitating, dragging, gravitating you into the very, very precarious condition of life. We cannot think of Krishna, we cannot cultivate. Krishna says, Uddhava, that mode of goodness, we have to cultivate transcendental goodness only through the mode of goodness. We cannot. Because mode of goodness is a conducive, actually it's a preliminary stage or preliminary stage to step into the transcendental goodness, that is called Vasudeva Tattva or Shuddha Sattva, purified goodness. When the mode of goodness strengthen, it gets matured or pure, that is called purified goodness or Vasudeva Sattva, transcendental goodness. Otherwise, it's a dangerous position because it is not eternal. Only eternal position, liberated stage is Vasudeva Sattva. Therefore, Lord Shiva is telling Satyam Vasudeva. What is that? Satyam Visuddham Vasudeva Sabditam. Satyam Visuddham Vasudeva Sabditam. When in that pure consciousness, in that transcendental goodness, one execute Krishna consciousness, that is called Vasudeva Sabditam. It is known as Vasudeva platform. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Only Krishna, nothing else. That is called this platform of, in that platform Krishna revealed. So, therefore, this we have to cultivate this mode of goodness. So that when you cultivate the mode of goodness, the mode of passion and ignorance can be subdued. That is the preliminary for ordinary man. Just like a children. He wants to play, but he has to go to school so that his career will be bright. We have to transcend. Krishna say in chapter 14 say that this mode of passion and ignorance, first of all he said that, beautiful verses, that माम च जो भ्याविचारेण भक्ति योगेन सेवत सगुणं समतितायितं ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते. One who engage in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature, thus come to the level of Brahman. So we have to engage in unadulterated devotional service to transcend the modes of material nature. So now it is stated that this mode of goodness and mode of passion is a very dangerous situation. So Krishna also say that result of pious action is pure, is said to be mode of goodness. But action done in mode of passion result in misery. Action performed in mode of ignorance result in foolishness. When you are in mode of passion and ignorance, we cannot approach the Krishna. Basic prerequisite is we have to in mode of goodness. Because in passion and ignorance, this Krishna consciousness cannot be raised. Krishna himself say, Bhogoshwara prasaktanam na so Bhogoshwara prasaktanam ta chaitasa apratam. Chapter 2, text 44. Krishna say that when one is mode of passion and ignorance, we cannot cultivate. There is no possible. Bhogoshwara prasaktanam taya prata chaitasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhav na vidhyate. In the mind, those who are too attached to sense enjoyment, material opulences, who are bewildered by such things, resolve determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. It will not take place unless one comes to the mode of goodness. It is not possible. Many times Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in 1825, 17th chapter also, 1825, Krishna says that the action performed in illusion disregards scriptural injunction and without concern for future bondage or for violence and distress caused to others is said to be in a mode of ignorance. Mode of ignorance is all degrading, all bad quality. We develop bad quality because the action is performed in illusion, in mode of ignorance and passion. Therefore, it creates a bad quality. It is stated in Shastra that it creates so many bad quality. If human being is engaged in sinful religious activity either because of bad association or because of his failure to control his senses, such a person will certainly develop a personality full of material desire. He thus become miserly towards others, greedy, always anxious to exploit bodies of women. And mind is so polluted, one become violent, aggressive without authority of Vedic injunction. Slaughters innocent animal for sense gratification, worshipping ghost spirit. The bewildered person fall fully into the grip of unauthorized activity, thus go to hell. This is a material body infected by darkest modes of nature. See, what is the darkest modes of nature? Mode of ignorance and passion. Particularly in this age of Kali, this mode of ignorance is prominent. Little bit of mode of passion and mode of goodness is nil. Where is Brahmana? Sama, Dhamma, Titikya, Jnana, Vijnana, Arjavam. These are Brahminical qualities. Unless we have this quality, we cannot execute bhakti. That is a prerequisite. This is the problem of the people, those who are normally, as soon as we come, take birth, we are infected. We are infected with mode of passion, mode of ignorance. It is say that, the beautiful verses, that as soon as we got this, come to this material world, our mode of ignorance is very prominent. We are very much attached to sense gratification. Simply by material birth, human beings become attached within their mind to personal sense gratification. Long duration of life, sense activities, bodily strength, sexual potency, and friends and family. Their minds are thus absorbed in that which defeats their actual self-interest. We born in such a mode of ignorance and passion that we are naturally inclined to all kind of sense gratification. That impediment, that is the impediment to revive our consciousness. Therefore, Shastra injunction of Shastra to cultivate goodness and further cultivate transcendental goodness. So we are today learning that how we are infected. As soon as we come in material nature, we are naturally by default is contaminated by mode of ignorance and passion mostly. In this beautiful verses also it is say that लोको भया लोको भवायंस लोको भव्या आमिष मद्य सेवा आमिष मीन्स नॉन वेज bhavaya means sex amish means meat madhya means liquor seva means for taking. So in this material world the conditioned soul is always inclined to sex, meat eating and intoxication. Therefore religious scripture never actually encourage such activities. Always this is natural inclination as soon as we are infected. In this infectious stage is very difficult. The religious principle can be activated, can be produced only from the mode of goodness. No question of from the mode of passion and ignorance. We cannot develop. It is stated we cannot develop this. And in this verses it is developed. We cannot develop this mode of religious principle from other modes, lower modes. No, it is not possible. Therefore, Krishna says that Supreme Personality of Godhead say, my dear Uddhava, a person bereft of intelligence first falsely identify with himself with a material body and mind. When such false knowledge arises within one's consciousness, material passion, the cause of great suffering, prevails the mind, which by nature is situated in goodness. Then the mind contaminated by passion become absurd in making, changing many plans of material advancement. Thus, by constantly thinking of modes of material nature, a foolish person is afflicted with unbearable material desire. Although constitutionally mind is goodness, but due to our infection, it contaminated by passion and ignorance. So we cannot, it won't arise. Prahlad Maharaj said that to his father, Father, you cannot become Krishna consciousness. He told, why I cannot become Krishna consciousness? Sir, because you are in mode of passion and ignorance. मतिन्न कृष्णे परत स्वातवा मिठोपि पाद्यते गृहवर्तानाम अदांत गोवीर विषातम तमिश्रम पुनः पुनः चर्वितम चर्मनानाम. He said that because of uncontrolled senses, person too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish condition. Repeatedly chew which has already been chewed. Their inclination towards Krishna are never aroused, either by instruction of others, by their own effort, or by a combination of both. They cannot become Krishna consciousness when we are infected by modes of ignorance and passion, so much uncontrolled sense gratification. That is natural. If I want to enjoy the disco, I want to eat meat and all, I cannot think of God. Cannot think of God. Krishna also says, there is a verse is there, he says that meat eater cannot approach me. Nibitate Sirupa Giyamana Bhavo Sudo 10:14. So they cannot approach the Lord. That is not possible in mode of passion and ignorance. So we have to cultivate to come to mode of goodness. And people do not know that. There is so much ignorance. They have no idea. Rishivadev is saying that these people have no idea that they are being infected by these modes, and he says that due to ignorance, the materialistic person does not know anything about real self-interest, the auspicious path of life. Is simply bound by the material enjoyment, by lusty desire. All the plans are made for this purpose, for temporary sense gratification. Such a person creates a society of envy. Due to this mentality, he plunges into an ocean of suffering. Such a foolish person does not even know about this. They do not know this. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, when he was asked to come to Vaikuntha, he rejected, he refused to come. He told, no, 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 I am not concerned about myself. I am okay, because I am always absorbed in your thought. But I am concerned about the Maya Sukhaya Bharam. These people who are infected by modes of passion and ignorance, they create a plan, Maya Sukha, illusory happiness. They have no idea that they are originally Krishna consciousness, and their goal is to revive this Krishna consciousness. Nate vidhu swartha gatimi Vishnu. How to revive this Krishna consciousness is their primary goal. They have no idea. Therefore, I want to teach them how to cultivate this mode of goodness. how to cultivate the transcendental goodness. So everybody is infected, mostly infected by mode of passion and ignorance. So this lesson, lecture is very, very, this lesson is from Bhagavatam is very, very important. They do not know the aim of life. They do not know even they are infected. Just like a patient, he do not know that he is disease condition. He never show the doctor. So this is our aim of life. Nate viddu swartha gatimi Vishnu. We have to come to Vishnu, attach to Vishnu, understand Vishnu. Then only all this infection, all this lower attachment, all this infectious attachment, material attachment, we can overcome. We get a higher state. Then only we can give up the lower state. It stated the real problem of life is the repetition of birth and death, which is like a wheel rolling repeatedly up and down. This wheel, however, completely stops one who is in touch with Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as we get attached, then we can easily stop all this param drishta nivartate, because they have not find the supreme goal. They do not know the supreme goal. This is just like a child is so attached to playing, he does not know that education is important. So now the question is how to cultivate this mode of goodness to subdue passion and ignorance. Then later on how to cultivate this transcendental goodness. So we can go to immediately at age it is Krishna say that mamcho abhyabicharena bhakti yogena se abhyabicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitam. But how to this abhyabicharena bhakti to cultivate? Because we are now infected by mode of passion and ignorance predominantly. Now how to cultivate? So let's go to Krishna's explanation of this in the same 11th canto. Further explanation of the Krishna in this context, Krishna says when the living entity becomes strongly situated in mode of goodness, then religious principle characterized by devotional service to me become prominent. See, Krishna says that unless only mode of goodness, the religious principle can be prominent. One can strengthen the mode of goodness by cultivation of those things that are already situated in goodness. Thus, the religious principle arise. So we have to cultivate those things that are already situated in goodness, sama, dhamma, titikya, all this mode of goodness, brahminical qualification quality. We have to cultivate that. So we have to come to the mode of goodness also. Main thing, come to the devotional service. Without coming to the devotional service, so-called mode of goodness also have no useless, actually useless. Religious principles strengthened by the mode of goodness destroy the influence of passion and ignorance. When passion and ignorance are overcome, their original cause, the religion, is quickly vanished. See, when the religious principles strengthened by mode of goodness, then it will destroy. According to quality of religious scripture, these are beautiful verses. Until one revives some direct knowledge of the spirit soul, drives away the illusory identification with material body and mind caused by three modes of nature, one must cultivate those things in the mode of goodness. By increasing the mode of goodness, one automatically can understand and practice a religious principle. By such practice, transcendental knowledge is awakened. So this is the thing, that we have to practice unless it is awakened Krishna consciousness. We have to practice these things in, so that we can purify the contamination. And how to practice? Beautifully it is given how to practice this Krishna consciousness. We have to practice the devotional religious principle. When you practice religious principle in mode of goodness, automatically the passion and ignorance will vanquish. How to practice it stated by the Sukadev Goswami, that beautiful 5 verses. It is stated that Sunvanta Sunvanta Sokatha Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Hudantustani Abhadrani Vidunati. Now we are infected. Infected means our heart is infected, full of lust, anger, greed. Krishna also say Bhagavad Gita also, Kama Yesha Krodhosa Rajaguna Samudbhava. Our enemy is the Kama, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, represent the lust. Chapter 14 it is say that ignorance means lost, sleeping always. Passion is lost, ignorance is lazy, indolence. All these characteristic of mode of passion and ignorance. So that is our real enemy. Krishna say, before we come to the things, we can go to the 14th chapter to see that these verses. See, it is say that when there is an increase in mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, furtive activity, intense endeavor, uncontrolled desire, hankering develop. This is the character of mode of passion. Everybody has got this modern society. They are all infected. When there is an increase of mode of ignorance, so son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, illusion are manifested. Mad. Nunnam pramata kurute vikrama. They are mad after the sense gratification. A mad illusion. They do not know what. So their illusion, inertia, darkness, all this gloomy, morose, this is mode of ignorance characteristic. So we are all infected by these modes. And Krishna says these are our enemies. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this is our enemies, greatest enemy. Kama Yesha Krodhosa Rajaguna Samudbhava. This is our greatest enemy. Mahasmana Mahapapma Vidhyenam Iha Vairanam. Vairanam means greatest enemy. The blessed Lord say it is the lost only Arjuna which is born of contact with the material modes of passion, later transformed into Arat, which is all devouring sinful enemy of this world. So when we are infected by the mode of passion and ignorance, the lust comes, anger comes, all this starting from the lost Kama Anuja. Kama is fasting, lost, and all his sibling Anuja, Kama, Krodho, Lobo, Mada, Maschara, these are all the things comes. And these are called three, these are called Narakogami. They are called three gateway to liberation. Sorry, hell. Way to hell. Three things are way to three vidham narakashadam. Dwaram nasanam atmanam. They destroy the soul. There are three gates leading to the hell: lust, anger, greed. Every sane man should give this up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Soul is lost, soul is destroyed. So these are the very important things. So this, when we are infected in such a severe modes or lower modes like passion and ignorance, that is not at all conducive. That will gravitate us, law of gravity, then gravitate us into more and more to hellish life. Therefore, we have to cultivate. And how to cultivate that? So that we can conquer or subdue. As Krishna said, we have to conquer and cultivate goodness. And then the religious principle comes. Then the real knowledge manifests. Brahmabhutta prasanatma nasotuti na kankyati samah sarva bhutesu madabhakti labate param. Then only real devotional service begins. So how to cultivate? This is stated by the um, great Sukadev Goswami to Parikit Maharaj in the very first canto. The Sinmatam Sokotha Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Udantustani Abhadrani Vidunati Swasana. This Abhadrami, lust, anger, greed, all the things which is way to our hell, gateway to hell, they are they are in our heart. It contaminated our heart and mind. So how to disinfect it? Sinvata Sokotha Krishna, to hear Krishna Katha. To hear Krishna Katha means to disinfect, purify our consciousness, purify the modes, contamination of these three modes, particularly the lower modes. All three modes will be disinfected. Further verses explain that how by hearing process, regular hearing process. So hearing is very, very important. Ear is the gateway to liberation, the highway to Vaikuntha, Krishna Loko. Highway to liberation is ear. By process of hearing. Sinbata, Sokatha, Krishna. So many hearings are going on nowadays. But Sukadev Goswami particularly say that, no, you hear about Krishna Katha. Because Krishna Katha is the medicine. Bhavasudau, Manomi Rama. These are the medicine. It will purify. Vidhunati means cleanse. Vidhunati Sruvasatam means it will cleanse us. Pravishta Kannar Andrena, when the Krishna Katha enter into ear, Sonum Bhava Soruraham, Samlama Krishna, Vidunati Samlama Krishna. It will cleanse us. That's why the Krishna Katha is very important. The hearing is very, very important. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that, what he said, Krishna Prema, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu ke banaya, Sravanadi Shuddha Chitte, Karya Eka. I think 2107, if I'm not wrong. No. It is said that Krishna Prema uh, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Suddha Chitta Sravanadi Suddha Chitte Karyoika. By hearing process we can revive it. A process of hearing. Let's say what is this verses I forgot. Nitya Siddha Krishna. Nitya Siddha. Oh, 22107. Sorry, I was 21. 22107. So in this verses, this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabyanaya Sravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karya. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the heart of living entity. Asanga Hi Ayam Purusha. We are Asanga, we are pure consciousness. But it is not something to be gained from another source. When heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. Is naturally awakened simply by hearing. It is now dormant. So, therefore, this Sinnatam Sokotha Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Hudantustani Abhadrani, when all Abhadra will vanish, then automatically the Krishna consciousness awaken. In the next verses, it is stated, the Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati. Next, by regular attendance in the classes on Bhagavatam. That is actually called Abhyavicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate. Abhyavicharena Bhakti Yogena. Day by day, regularly, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, which praise with the transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact. So, now we will be fixed up. When you regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, today actually beautiful verses is there. Ekadashi, Dwadashi, one should hear and recite Bhagavatam. What is the benefit? It is stated in Bhagavatam itself. 12:12:48. 60. So it is said that in beautiful verses that one who hears Bhagavatam on the Ekadasi and Dwadashi day is assured for long life. One who recites it with careful attention while fasting is purified of all sinful reactions. Sinful reaction is causes our material bondage, is the root cause of our material bondage. Why we are sinful? Because we are infected by mode of passion and ignorance. When we are infected by mode of passion and ignorance, we develop the bad qualities. This is also stated very nicely Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam says that why we are sinful? Because we are sinful, we are infected by the mode of passion and ignorance. Our action is now the illusory material nature attracts minute living entity to embrace her, and as a result, he assumes forms composed of her quality. Subsequently, he loses all his spiritual quality, must undergo repeated death. You, however, see, this is the thing that as soon as we are infected, we are embracing all this Maya, or we are contracted by the modes of passion and ignorance, we loses all this spiritual quality, just like a diseased person. He loses all the healthy condition of life. He is diseased now. He lost his appetite. He lost his so many things. Similarly, when we are infected or embraced by Maya, we lose our spiritual qualities, and we do always the bad qualities. Therefore, we are infected by this. We are entangled in the complexity of action and reaction, our karma, and undergo repeated birth and death. How very technically it is said, very nicely stated. Therefore, it is said that Bhagavatam, if you read Ekadashi, Dwadashi, all our infections, sinful reaction will be purged. That is very beneficial. So we can go back to the verses where it is said that Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati. Pray almost, Prabhupada says 75%. So almost all this bad quality will go away. And you fixed up with devotional service, bhakti. Cultivating the bhakti, that is religious principle. Krishna say to Uddhava, what is that religious? This is bhakti. Religious principle means bhakti. So in that state, when we are cultivating the bhakti and you disinfect yourself, almost all prayana, nasta prayasu abhadresu, all abhadra, all this infection is now curing by regular hearing process, regular hearing the Bhagavatam from the right soul, not anybody. यहाँ भागवत पढ़ो भागवत स्थाने एकांत आश्रय करे चैतन्य चरणे. So Shastra says that you should hear the Bhagavatam from the devotees, otherwise it's useless. Particularly to avoid the Bhagavatam reading from Mayavadi. Mayavadi, they do not even speak Bhagavatam. They have never written commentary on Bhagavatam, Shankaracharya. So what will happen when you are in that cultivating religious principle bhakti? Tada raja tamo bhava kamo lobo dayaschade chetayatair anubiddham. Very nice. Anaviddham. Chetayatair anaviddham stitam satya prasidati. The beautiful verses. Tada raja tamo bhava. When you cultivate in this way, what is the benefit? What is the repercussion? What is the result of this? As soon as an irrevocable loving service is established, irrevocable means fixed up. No more night, today I am doing service, tomorrow I am sleeping. No, no, no. Day by day, routine wise, without failing, without failing. Abhavicharina, unfailing. Prabhupada translated as unfailing. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effect of nature of mode of passion and ignorance, or the loss, desire, and hankering disappear from the heart. That time you conquer this mode of passion and ignorance. You come to the stage of goodness, fixed up with goodness. No more it is, no more the other modes can, conquer you. You are fixed up goodness. Then the devotee is established in goodness, he becomes completely happy. As soon as you come to mode of goodness is always joyful. It is stated that the symptoms of mode of goodness in this verse in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna say, the symptoms of mode goodness is always joyful. See, the manifestation of mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of body are illuminated by knowledge. Because of illuminated by knowledge, so they are very joyful. They do not fear. They do not fear. So it is say that in that the mode of goodness condition one to happiness. See, they are very joy, happiness. Passion to furtive action, ignorance to covering one's knowledge, and binds one to madness. Because due to this mode of goodness, one comes to the proper knowledge. Therefore, he is very happy. Just like he is very happy, he knows that this all this passion and ignorance is not the right choice. Is not the aim of life. He becomes completely happy. Then what will happen? When he conquer the mode of passion and come to mode of goodness, what will happen after that? एवं प्रसन्न मनसा भगवत भक्ति जोगत भगवत तत्व विज्ञानम मुक्त संगस्य जायते. Thus established in mode of unalloyed goodness. So again he cultivate the mode of goodness further, strengthen it and come to the step into the Vasudeva Sattva, Vasudeva Sattva, Vasudeva platform, Sudasattva platform, transcendental goodness, unalloyed goodness. The man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. In the stage of liberation from all material association, see, in that stage that is called Vasudeva Tattva, he even transcends the mode of goodness. He comes to the stage of Vasudeva, I am Aham Brahmasmi, I am the Brahman and I am the eternal servant of the Lord. Nibera Swarupe Nitya Krishnara Dasa. He comes to that knowledge and he engages in devotional service of the Lord. That is called Vasudeva Sattva. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So Mahatma Sudullabha. In that stage, he is a liberation from the all material contamination. No more material. No sanga, no sangajukta dosa. He is now in his original consciousness. Asanga ayam purusha. It is stated in this. Lord Shiva has spoken very nicely. Lord Shiva says that what is that stage called Vasudeva Sattvam Visuddham Vasudeva Sabditam Yad Yate Tatra Puman Apobritaha Satyechu Tasmin Bhagavan Vasudeva Hiyadokhyajamena Masa Vidyate. Beautiful verses. I am always engaged in offering obeisance to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of God is known as Vasudeva is revealed without any covering. Here Prabhupada very nicely written purport is a big purport one should read. Now we don't have time, but one should read this purport. Very, very important. What is that purport? The living entity constitutional position is pure. Asangai ayam purusha. I got this from this purport. In this Vedic literature, it is said that soul is always pure and uncontaminated by material attachment. The identification of the body with soul is due to misunderstanding. As soon as one is fully Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that one is in a pure original constitutional position. The state of existence is called Sudasattva, which means that it is transcendental to material quality. Since the Sudasattva existence is under the direct action of internal potency, in the state of activities of material consciousness stop. For example, when iron is put into fire, it becomes warm. When red hot, although it is iron, it acts like a fire. Similarly, when copper is surcharged with electricity, its action as a copper stuff, it acts as a electricity. 1426, Prabhupada explained, Mamcha Bhavicharina Bhakti Yogena Sevati Sagunan Samati Taita. So, it will acquire this spiritual quality. It will acquire these higher qualities. Just like iron, when it put into fire, then it will acquire the fire quality. Wherever you touch the iron, it will burn you. Same thing copper. When copper is surcharged by electricity, when you touch the copper, it will electrocute you. It will act as a electricity. So that is the beautiful analogy Prabhupada is given. And also confirm that anyone who engages in unadulterated devotional service to the Lord is at once elevated to the position of pure Brahman. He becomes pure Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. That is real position, not theoretically, practically. Mamcho ya abhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He come to the Suddha Sattva. Brahma Mutta Prasanatma, that time is very happy. Na sochati na kankyati, there is no anchoring, no desire, because his all ignorance, passion, all this become subdued. Even mode of goodness also subdued. Then he will be Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahat, sorry that call. Brahmabutta Prasanatma na sochati na kankyati Samah Sarvabhutesu Madhavaktim Labate Param. At that time we will obtain this Vasudeva state. What is that Vasudeva state? Vasudeva Sarvamiti. The Lord is all in all. His supreme goal is Vasudeva, nothing else. In that in that transcendental position, which is technically called Vasudeva, Vasudeva is also name of the person from whom Krishna appeared. This verse explains that pure state is called Vasudeva because in that state Vasudeva, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealed without any covering. Without any covering. So how to execute unadulterated devotional service? Therefore one must follow the rules and regulation of devotional service without desire to gain material profit by fruitive activity and mental speculation. That is very, very important point. The Abhavicharina definition Prabhupada gave that what is that Abhavicharina Bhakti Yogena unadulterated devotional service? That is that to follow the rule and regulation of Acharya. Acharya means who conducts by the example. Achara, by his conduct. So one who follows the rule and regulation of Acharya, that is called Abhavicharina Bhakti. Without desire for any gain, unmotivated, ahituki apratihata, unmotivated, no karma, no fruitive activities, no jnana. Rupa Goswami say that, what is that? Anyabilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anarvitam, anukullena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. That is called Vasudeva state. That is called Abhavicharena Bhakti, first class Bhakti. How the first class Bhakti? One has to execute the order of spiritual master, follow the instruction of spiritual master without anyabhyasita, without any material desire. No karma, no jnana, uncovered by karma and jnana. Krishnanusilanam, which means anusilanam, follow the instruction of Krishna means follow the instruction of spiritual master. That is called actually definition of Abhyacharina Bhakti. Transcendental goodness can be achieved only by following the regulative principle or following this instruction of spiritual master. That's all. There is a beautiful verses in this regard. Before we winding up the beautiful verses, three beautiful verses are there. It is say that Rajas tamascha satyena sattam cho pasemena eta sarvam guru bhaktya. Guru bhakti. Purusai ajnasa jayate. Very, very important. One must conquer the mode of passion and ignorance by developing mode of goodness. Then one must become detached from mode of goodness by promoting oneself to platform of Suddha Sattva. All this can be automatically done if one engages in the service of spiritual master with faith and devotion. In this way, one can conquer the influence of modes of nature. That is the formula. Today's topics is that is the today's essence of take home. This is a take home lesson. Lecture is not Prabhupada says that simply don't hear lecture. You should have a take home lesson. This is the take home lesson. That one has to serve the spiritual master, engage in the service of spiritual master with faith and devotion. Then one can easily, automatically, that is called Abhyavicharina Bhakti. Automatically, sagunantamati taitam. One can automatically transcend the modes of nature, and come to the stage of Vasudeva Suddha Sattva state, transcendental goodness. And in that state, the bhakti begins. Lord is revealed, the transcendental knowledge is revealed, our Krishna consciousness is awakened. That is called Brahmabhutta stage, not Jivabhutta stage. That is called Brahmabhutta stage. And that is conducted by internal potency. We are now not no more under the Mahamaya, we are under the Jogomaya, spiritual potency. No more infection of modes. We are now transcendental potency under this guide of transcendental potency of the Lord, spiritual potency of the Lord, internal potency of the Lord. So therefore the spiritual master is very important. Sadhus are very important. Because we cannot hear Krishna Katha, we cannot cultivate the transcendental goodness without associating with devotees. Because we have to hear Krishna Katha. How to hear Krishna Katha without spiritual master, without devotee association? Therefore it is said that in these beautiful verses, Bhagavatam, we can end with these verses, end our classes, with these two beautiful verses from Bhagavatam. प्रसंगम अजस्रम पासम आत्मनः कवय विद्धु स्वएव साधुषु कृत. Prabhupada use this two line very very important. Prabhupada frequently use स्वएव साधुषु कृत मोक्ष द्वारम अपावृतम. Every learned man knows that very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized soul, devotee, self-realized devotee, opens the door of liberation. Sadhu evasya, very nice, very nice. So, soeva sadhushu krita moksha dharam apavrita. We have got attachment, no doubt. But the same attachment, we attach to so many, our family, friend, wife, children. If same attachment we redirect, transport to the sadhus, then liberation. Open the gate of liberation. Moksha dharam apavritam. Otherwise, we will be bondage. We will again undergo repeated birth and death. Therefore, this is very important to take shelter of the self-realized devotees, the spiritual master, self-realized pure devotee of the Lord spiritual master, and follow the instruction with faith and devotion. We can easily get out. Easily get out. So we ending with the beautiful verses from Madhya, spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. कृष्णा भक्ति जन्म मूल्य होए साधु संग कृष्णा प्रेम जन्मे तेना पुण्य मुख्य अंग. The root cause of devotional service to the Lord Krishna is the association with advanced devotee. Even once dormant love for Krishna awakens, association with devotee is still most essential, very very essential. Not that my Krishna consciousness awakens, now I forgot my spiritual master. I don't care my spiritual master. I don't care my devotees association. No. Even a Krishna consciousness is awakened in the heart, still this devotee association is very, very essential. Because this is the root cause of our devotional service to Krishna. Their association is the root cause. By this association, we can cultivate the transcendental goodness by process of hearing Bhagavatam regularly, hearing Krishna Katha. Then we can get out. We can transcend this, very easily transcend. The verses. It is said that when people properly glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply hear about His power, Lord personally enters their heart and cleanses away every stress of misfortune, just as the sun removes the darkness or as a powerful wind drives away clouds. See, as soon as we hear with association of devotee, we hear Krishna Katha. What is the instruction of spiritual master? Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. So when you chanting and hearing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also given a universal statement, Chaitanya Darpana Mardhanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapana. Sri Krishna Sankirtana Jagya he introduced. So here it is said that by hearing, Krishna himself cleanses away. And also in another verses, Krishna says that my dear Uddhava, I am personally ultimate shelter and way of life for saintly liberated person. Thus, if one does not engage in my loving devotional service, which is made possible by associating with my devotees, then for all practical purpose, one possesses no effective means for escaping from material existence. No question of escaping. Only way to escape is the process by associating with devotee and hearing Krishna Katha. Krishna comes and cleanses, and we can transcend the mode of goodness. Wish you a happy Ekadashi, a very devotional, full Ekadashi. Thank you very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.